Number 1.
All right, our top story, which frankly this week has not been a top story because this is the weirdest thing we've ever seen. Strikeforce's card tomorrow night is a great card, great storyline,
yes.
Semis of the heavyweight Grand Prix, great undercard fights, but all the freaking news that came down this week totally overshadowed it.
Now, here was an interesting thing. King Mo and Josh Barnett were both complaining about the lack of attention,
right.
the lack of media coverage, the lack of a presence. And King Mo went on to talk about the fact that the UFC was scheduling all these other announcements and doing all these. I don't think it was.
They're scheduling.
I don't think it was intentional.
You think they scheduled Nick Diaz?
Here's the funny. Here's the funny thing. I mentioned it to Dana White this morning. I said, "Hey, did you see King Mo's comments out of Cincinnati about what's going on?" And so he got all fired up. And as only Dana can do it, he goes, "King Mo, whatever his name is."
Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do? First of all, the Diaz thing was totally unpredictable.
Right.
Diego Sanchez, you have no idea that's coming. And what are you going to do?
The Lesnar fight?
You think Lesnar Overeem is going to stay a secret for a week?
Right.
Fat chance. And you tell people why. Can you tell people why that story got out? Even if they wanted to hold it, Overeem was spotted in town.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
And who saw him?
Lance Pugmire of the Los Angeles Times.
So, the LA Times guy saw Overeem there, and he's like, I wonder
what's going on. Yeah, so it was a crazy week.
Yeah.
And so the poor Strikeforce card, I mean, as you said before, a terrific card. Obviously, we'll be watching tomorrow night on Showtime. And I think this is going to be a sensational card. I'm really looking forward to the middleweight title fight between Jacare and Luke Rockhold. But also, I am a Josh Barnett fan as a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And, he wasn't really challenged by Brett Rogers. And I'm going to be curious to see if Sergei Haratonov can actually do anything with him.
So your favorite fight is the under-the-radar middleweight fight with Jacare and Rockhold. Rockhold's a good prospect.
I think it's an interesting fight. I do. My favorite fight is the Barnett fight because I like Barnett as a fighter, and but I look forward to that middleweight fight as well.
We're going to go through the whole card around 6:45 here on the Jewelers of Las Vegas.
What do you like,
MMA
Roger
Insiders.
Gracie?
No, I like Barnett fight number 1, and I actually think the other semi is really intriguing because Cormier's chances kind of growing on me a little bit. Although I heard today he weighed in jeans, which is great, isn't it? He pulled the Roy Jones. Did he have coins in his pocket? Remember Roy Jones tried to get up to like 201?
He had a couple rolls of quarters in his pocket.
Johnny Ruiz, and he had like a full sweat outfit on. But I'm a big Bigfoot Silva fan, and I argued with you that I think he has a great shot to win it. This is a good test. It's a smaller, athletic guy with a really disciplined style. If he just goes for takedown, and you got to be able to defend that.
If Bigfoot Silva can quit getting taken and keep himself from defend the takedown and use his boxing skills, I think it's going to be a long night for Daniel Cormier.
All right, back here, the Jewelers of Las Vegas, MMA Insiders, also brought to you by our friends at PTs. We're going to be on the road before UFC 135, September 23rd. Full show, DC and the Sunshine Man at the 215 and Buffalo locations, followed by the Jewelers of Las Vegas, MMA Insiders. All right, time is short. We could do this for 2 hours. Kevin's been saying that for a while, but maybe we'll do that eventually. Coming up next, we've got our Westwood One Fantasy Football preview. So Kevin may want to listen to that, except you already did.
After my draft the other day, I need some help.
You know what? You got Drew Brees, so that worked out.
I look pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, rapid fire. We'll go over some of the big fights using the odds. Strikeforce tomorrow night on Showtime. Josh Barnett, minus 335, big favorite, against Sergei Haratonov, coming back at plus 275.
I will lay the 335 on Josh Barnett to win 100. I like Barnett. I think he's a complete fighter. I don't think Haratonov is. I think Barnett will submit him sometime in the middle of the fight.
And I like Barnett's attitude. Not real stuck on making the most exciting fight. I want to win. So if it goes to the ground and I got to lay on him and wear him out, tough luck.
Get the gold. Yep.
Silva, Antonio Bigfoot Silva against the much smaller Daniel Cormier, minus 165. Cormier, the fill-in, is plus 145.
This is one I think you got to play the chalk too. I give Cormier a shot. I think with the wrestling he's there, but he is vastly less experienced than Bigfoot Silva. Bigfoot Silva's got a lot going for him. I would not be shocked. This is the one where I think has the better chance of the upset, but I would lay the price here as well, and I would go with Antonio Bigfoot Silva.
Deep card with good fights beyond that. Jacare, one of the best BJJ guys in the world, especially at middleweight, against Luke Rockhold out of the AKA camp in California. Jacare, the middleweight champ with Strikeforce, minus 400. Rockhold, plus 325.
I take a shot here with Rockhold. I think it's worth if he can stay off his back, off the ground with Jacare, whose jiu-jitsu is sick. Yeah. I think he has a shot. I don't think Jacare's game is developed all around. He beat Tim Kennedy, who had pretty good stand-up, but I'm going to go with Luke Rockhold. Take the dog here.
I like Jacare, although I hate laying 400. Roger Gracie against King Mo. Roger Gracie, long, lean guy, 6'5" and 205. This is a big fight for King Mo. He's minus 155. Gracie's coming back with almost no experience on the MMA level. At plus 135, King Mo needs to win this, and he needs to show a gas tank and be dedicated to getting it down and staying out of predicaments.
Hard fight to pick because you don't know a lot about how Gracie's going to react in MMA. I'm going to go with King Mo.
Okay. I like King Mo in that one as well. Rest of the card, you got Pat Healy on the card. You got Mike Kyle on the card. One other very interesting fight, I think, from an odds standpoint. Fejao, Rafael Cavalcante is a very good fighter. He's a big 205er.
He can punch.
And he's going against a Cuban making his Strikeforce debut, if I'm correct. But, at least at this level in Yoel Romero Palacio, and Cavalcante is only minus 135. Palacio was a silver medalist in wrestling in the Olympics. So old, 34 years old, but might be a good prospect.
Should be an interesting fight there. Cavalcante, I think, is the more experienced guy and will win that one.
All right. So, looking ahead. Let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, we talked about the lack of attention this week. I don't think any of it was done intentionally, but tell me about the future of Strikeforce into 2012.
I think that eventually, without question, that Strikeforce will be folded into the UFC. That was the plan from day one. They have spent tens of millions of dollars. Let me repeat, tens of millions of dollars to build that brand up. It's, in boxing, I'm going to go see the Mayweather fight. I'm going to go see the Pacquiao fight. In MMA, I'm going to go to the UFC fight. So they did not buy Strikeforce to let people now get used to a different brand name. And I was talking to Dana White today about a totally separate topic, and when I mentioned about Strikeforce, he said, I promote UFC 24/7. That's what they do. And so they're going to, once the contracts are expired, Steve, put it right into UFC. They got it for the fight. Now, in 2012, I still think the Showtime contract is good. They're going to keep there. But beyond that, I think once it's done, they're done.
How about protecting the product, though? Because you mentioned, Henderson's going to come over in all likelihood. I mean, is there still a chance?
We don't know for sure.
What do you think? What are the odds on that? Does he stay in Strikeforce?
If you're Dan Henderson, why would you stay, in Strikeforce? But he's the champion. Who knows? Does he say at this point, at 40 years old, I'll fight a couple of defenses where I think I can make some money and rack up a couple of bucks, or does he go to the UFC? I think he goes to the UFC, but still not done, so we don't know what he's going to do.
And same deal, you mentioned potential of Melendez fighting on this card coming up at UFC 137. And that's another one. You gonna have every champ come over,
right? Eventually, when their contracts are expired, they are going over. That's what you're going to see. Yeah. When the contracts are up, the champions are going to probably go over. Dan Henderson, a special case because of his age and everything, but I think, Melendez clearly wants to be fighting the Frankie Edgars and the Gray Maynards and those guys, Melvin Guillards. So he will move over when his contract's up.
Crystal ball, what does Showtime do after they're done with Zuffa? They're going to stay in the business?
I think they will. I think that they've had some success with MMA. They've gone from Elite XC to Strikeforce, and now even though there's still a Strikeforce, it's a Zuffa brand of Strikeforce. I think they've had success with it. They like it. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go after a Bellator and put some of the shows on.
There's a lot of weird crossover coming up the rest of the year. Spike is going to have the undercard of 141. They're going to have. I think they're going to have some of the viewing on that,
right?
And then. Yet Bellator is going to start appearing on Spike as well. So actually, rest of the year they're going to have both products at times
for a while.
A little weird, but I guess that's what happens, right?
Good show tonight, Steve.
Yes, appreciate it. By the way, tomorrow our buddy Trig fights.
Yeah, Good luck to Frank over in the jolly old England.
In Bama. You can watch that on Facebook on the Bama page. It's BAMMA, Bama 7. And Paul Daly apparently is learning his lesson. He missed weight by 6 pounds. I mean,
176 I saw.
Dude, you know?
So is he? I haven't heard, though. Is he off the card?
No, they agreed to fight. Radev said he was hesitating, and Radev's like, well, I guess I'll fight him at 176 then.
Unbelievable.
Another guy who will never learn, but, you know, there's always someone out there who's going to give him a decent paycheck.
Yep.
And he is a big mouth and has a big left hook. All right, thanks again to Mike Goldberg from the UFC, also Carlos Condit. Brilliant job of producing by our guest booker, Kevin Iole, and co-host, Kevin Iole. Check out all of Kevin's work this weekend. Again, thanks to the Jewelers of Las Vegas and PTs and Reynolds. We'll see you next week on Friday, 6 o'clock.
UNLV football plays here. This is ESPN Radio 1198.9 FM.